Sorry, I'm in this hotel. Okay. Sorry, they're telling me that, of course, right during our conversation, they want to test the fire alarm system. It's racism, y'all. That's what it is. It's right. They did it because we black. Anyway, so so if you hear a fire alarm, I might have to mute myself for a second so you don't have to hear all that chaos. So please forgive me for that. All right. So anyway, okay. So back to Arsenio. So Arsenio, first time they offer him the contract, it wasn't a good enough deal, so he says no, thank you. Then they come to him with another offer, and he's like, no, thank you. So then he goes off with his friend Eddie Murphy and does one of the greatest movies of all time. Was it Harlem Nights? Yeah, because he's like, quick. No, but it wasn't Harlem Nights. The first one he did was Coming to America. My mistake. So he goes off and he does Coming to America, and then he becomes a really big star. So now he comes back and he's able to negotiate the deal he wants. And the deal that he wanted was he wanted executive producer level control of the show. He wanted to control who was hired, he wanted to control who the guests were going to be, and all this other stuff, right? In addition to getting a big salary. So they gave him all that, and then they let him kind of do his show the way he did it. And so to me, that whole situation with Arsenio and the fact that he was able to, by sort of really pushing for the better deal, led him to be able to create what I consider to be one of the greatest shows of all time. And that was, in my view, an example of economic self-esteem. So, because if you think about it, Arsenio didn't do what you hear a lot of musical artists do, or a lot of rappers do. There's a ton of musical artists who circle back and get and scream and complain and about how horrible their contract was. You know that they took all the money, they did this, they did that, and I bet you in many cases these individuals did not read the contracts and they took the first deal they could get. And the people that tend to get the best contracts tend to be the ones who have the highest level of economic self esteem, who tend to say, you know what, I'm okay waiting for a better deal. Or I'm okay walking away from the table. See, pay attention now. This is important for you to understand. If you study any book on negotiation, one thing that they'll tell you about negotiation is that typically the people that win in the negotiation is not the person who's impatient, not the one who's eager to sign. It's the person who's like, I'm good. I don't know. Let me think about it. Let me go talk to my, I don't know. Gosh, I'll check with me again in a month. The more time you have, the more power you have in a negotiation. That's true for buying a car. It's true for getting a job. It's true for getting the Arsenio Hall show. It's true in general. The other thing about negotiation that's just really important, and you may want to, if you really want to expand this, you could extrapolate this into politics. Another thing that they say helps you in negotiation, it helps your economic self-esteem, is when you have what is called a credible threat. A credible threat means that you basically let them know in no uncertain terms, like, hey, if this doesn't work out, no hard feelings, bro. I could just, we could walk away from the table. Like, we don't really actually have to do this negotiation. Like, I don't really need you. I'm Arsenio. I could go, I'm gonna go hang out with my friend Eddie. We about to go do a movie, and maybe I'll come back and talk to you later. You know what I'm saying? So not only did he have time, but he had a credible threat. He had the full ability to do what a lot of black entertainers cannot do, which is to walk away from the table completely. A lot of people can't do that. That rapper who signed that contract, were they mad and they feel like it was a slave deal? 9 times out of 10, it was because they didn't have anywhere else to go. They were stuck in a situation where they couldn't walk away from the table, which goes to that third component that is proven to help you in a negotiation, which is just generally a term I use all the time. And that term is the word options. The more options you have, the better off you are in this world. When I talked to when I used to mentor, when my adopted daughter was 16 years old and she was dating boys and telling me about crazy things boys was doing, I didn't know what to tell the girls. I got two teenagers in the house too. I don't know what to tell them. I just say, hey, well, in relationships there is a power dynamic, and things like moral hazard from financial theory tends to apply in relationships also. And what I know is that the person who has the most options tends to have the most power. So I would say that if you get to the situation where you feel like you've got to drive a harder bargain, make sure you got plenty of options. If you got options, then he's going to have to compete for you, which actually leans the power in your favor. You are the prize, right? And so long story short, That word options also applied with Arsenio. Arsenio said, well, I got the option to go do a movie with my friend Eddie. And so his economic self-esteem was naturally high because he had a credible threat, he had plenty of time, and he had plenty of options. So he was able to pretty much push them to give him the best deal he could possibly get. And as a result, he was able to make a ton of money. He made a percentage of the profits from that show. And so let's circle this back to these black jobs that they offer us. One of the biggest problems I think that happens with African Americans as it pertains to economics is that we are put into a box. We are cornered into a box where you don't have any options because the only thing you were ever taught to do to make money was to get a job. And so if that boss lets you go, if that boss decides he don't want nothing to do with you, a lot of us are in a situation where we're like, what am I going to do? Master don't want me no more. I'm worthless. And what I'm here to say is that your economic self-esteem should never be that low. What I'm here to say is that your economic self-esteem should be naturally high, but also high from a practical standpoint. Not just high because you feel better about yourself, but high because you can learn some of these skills and teach your children some of these skills that I talk about, like patience. Delayed gratification, like, hey, you know what? I don't need to do this right now. I'm going to wait till I get a situation that really works for me. I don't need to settle. Maybe a credible threat, like, hey, you know what? I got a plan B in case plan A does not work out. I think that that's actually a good thing. That's a great thing to do. Or maybe having options for yourself, where it's like, you know, if I can't get you to hire me and pay me what I need to be paid, it's okay. I'm going to go with my friends and we're going to go start a business because we were all trained on entrepreneurship when we were children. And I've always wanted to start a business with my cousin anyway. That's going to be a blast. So either way, I'm going to be happy. I'll either be happy working with you or I'll be happy working over here. Either way, it's going to be totally fine. It's going to be okay. So generally, economic self-esteem is something that I think sometimes is lacking, particularly when you look at the context under which integration happened. Integration occurred under a context in which we felt like his ice was colder. We felt that his acceptance was just the most preeminent, most amazing things that we could ever accomplish. We felt like he was the alpha and the omega. I mean, some of us when we go to church, when we're really praying to Jesus, we're not really praying to Jesus. We're praying to Massa because Massa is the one who's answering your prayers anyway. When you go to work, when you go to church and you praying for more money, he's the one that's writing the check. When you're praying for a better job, he's the one that's deciding if he's going to hire you. When you're praying for a promotion, he's the one that decides if he wants to give that boy a chance or not. So really, my argument would be that if you want to have a scenario where economic anxiety is not as high as it is, then you might want to try some economic self-esteem with our children.